Hey everybody, Trinity from Moonstone Mystics, and I am here with my first Sunday sermon. I am so excited to be able to share with you the insight that I got from the divine over the last 24 hours. If you're in the South, I hope you're staying warm. We just had a winter storm that came through. And I was also told that my sermon is a little too serious, so I'm supposed to start off with a joke for Groundhog's Day. So, a busload of people die, and they go up to heaven, and they're at the pearly gates. And St. Peter notices three monks, Chinese monks, that were on the bus that had perished. And he said, "The three of you have lived such good lives, and your actions fall in alignment with what Christianity asks us to do. And so we want you to tell us the answer to one question. And if you can answer that correctly, we're going to go ahead and let you come into heaven. And if you can't, we're going to honor the lives that you had and send you down to be reincarnated so that you can live as Christians." And so he asks the first monk, "What is the most important holiday in Christianity?" And the monk thinks about it and he says, "Very important holiday. Santa comes down chimney and gives presents." And St. Peter says, "No, that's not it." So he sends him back down to earth. St. Peter asks the same question to the second monk. And that second monk says, "Oh, yes. A lot of fireworks in the sky and celebrations." Talking about 4th of July. And St. Peter says, "No, that's not it either. Go ahead and go back down to earth and live your life, and we'll see you when that incarnation is done." So St. Peter goes to the third monk and he says, "What is the most important holiday in Christianity?" And that monk thinks for a minute and he says, yeah, very important holiday. Jesus dies on the cross, goes into the cave for 3 days, comes out, sees shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. That's it. That's my joke. I hope you liked it. All right. So today is February 1st, 2026, the sacred day of Imbolc in the Celtic tradition, and I am Irish, where St. Bridget and her eternal flame are recognized as a symbol of the flame that we all carry within our spirit. It's the midway point of winter, signaling that all that spring is at hand, with the birth of lambs in the fields, the blood of their mothers contrasting the white where the crocuses start to emerge from the snow on the covered ground. This is a sacred time where life rouses from her slumber, and for the next 6 weeks she will stretch and bend into awakening before the new leaves start to bud on the tree limbs above us, animals start venturing out, and flowers start to blossom. Winter is a time of rest and restoration. It is in these cold, dark months that the wise turn within to deeply reflect upon the past year. What went well and right, and what could we have done better? And then look to the season before us and start to plan what they are going to do. Now that we are armed with this insight and wisdom that we've gained from turning within. Ancient peoples would be considering what crops to plant for the coming year and what livestock to raise. Today, for those of us who are not actively working in the agricultural industry, we can use this time to consider what we want to manifest into existence, whether it be a new business, a creative endeavor, or self-improvement. Often, this time of year coincides with spring cleaning, out with the old, in with the new, so to say. This is a physical act that reflects the mental process of releasing old beliefs and experiences so that we can be open to new ones. In my own life, I am starting to embark on my journey of cultivating my ministry as I pursue my doctorate in divinity through the Emerson Institute. So I've thought a lot about what I want that to look like and how I might best serve my brothers and sisters on this planet. Questions have swirled in my head like the rare snow that we had whirling around in the wind as it floated to the ground. So each one was unique and special, just like each snowflake. What do I need to let go of in order to expand into who I'm truly meant to be? What am I truly meant to be? What message do I want to bring? How might I best serve my community in this fashion? How big of an impact do I want to make as I traverse the path I'm on? Each question I've considered from multiple different angles before sitting down to write this, my first sermon. For me, St. Bridget's flame represents the light within us all. Even when that light is barely visible, it is still there and always will be. Our challenge is to allow that flame to grow bigger and brighter so that we might light the world with its brilliance, which can be hard for some of us to do. Why is that so difficult? Sometimes we have been told by others around us, often from the very people who should be the most loving to us in our lives, that our flame has no right to exist, let alone be big and bright. In other instances, we are held down within a society we live in based on being born different. Being born of the wrong color of skin tone, wrong sexual orientation, the wrong gender, or neurodivergence. But no matter the reason, it is all rooted in fear. And fear is the antithesis of love, and God is love. What exactly is this flame? In a word, truth. This flame of truth is where the divine resides, and it is found within each and every one of us. It lights the darkness, removing confusion and bringing clarity. It protects us from lies and helps us to discern who is trustworthy and who is not. It protects those around us through inspiration as we use the flame in our own bodies and spirits to light our path, spurring others to use their flame to light their path. It warms us when life turns cold and dark, which it sometimes does, and it brings us comfort and solitude. Resentment, fear, and jealousy and greed cannot live so long as this flame of truth burns bright, which is why those who thrive on the power that comes from controlling others through fear and divisiveness actually fear it the most. 1 Corinthians 14:33 states, "For God is the author, or not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the congregation of the Lord's people. And are we not all children of the divine?" In the 1990s, when I was going to catechism class, one of my favorite songs then, and still is today, is Amy Grant's "Thy word is a lamp upon my feet and a light unto my path." I remember hearing it and then singing it ad nauseum with my fellow classmates, and I'm sure we drove the pastor completely crazy. However, the resonance of it still stirs within me today, and as a person who has lived through some very dark times in my past, such dark times that I thought the flame within me had been snuffed out, leaving only the faint glow at the end of the wick and the wisps of smoke in the air, the song reminds me that there is no way that that flame can ever truly be spent, even after my time here on earth is over. When I started considering what I wanted to speak about today, my oldest child piped up and said, "I think it should be about walruses." And he's 25. Challenge accepted, son. One Google search later, and I am now able to tell you that the spiritual meaning behind the walrus totem is deep wisdom, protection, and community. It represents a need for strong social bonds and emotional resilience. It encourages embracing your true self and the importance of belonging, finding your tribe, and supporting one another. I'm sure by now you are probably asking yourself, why on earth is she bringing this up when we're talking about the eternal flame? Give me a moment. It's coming, I promise. Let's circle back to the challenge we face to grow our internal flame so that its light might shine with full brilliance for the world to see. Why do we want to do this? And moreover, how do we do this? We will start with the how. When we are talking about spiritual enlightenment or growing the internal flame, we are often taught about having an attitude of gratitude, having radical acceptance for what is, about prayer and meditation. All of these things are vital parts of that process, so please don't think that I'm being dismissive of any of them. However, I have found that these can remain hollow without the flame of truth within them. And what is needed for that truth to exist lies in taking personal responsibility. Taking accountability for our actions, whether past or present, whether good or bad, whether or not we caused harm, in order to see the full truth. I'm not talking about half-truths or mimics of the truth, because the truth adjacent is still deceit. The whole truth can sometimes be ugly to look upon. It can be multifaceted or mangled by our refusal to see it for what it is for a prolonged period of time. It can force us into decisions that we do not want to make and take actions we'd really prefer not to. It can break our hearts. It can show us things about others that we wish weren't there, causing us to have to walk away from relationships that do not serve the higher good. It can show us patterns in our own behavior that have hurt others in ways that we'd rather not admit, even to ourselves. But we will never learn the lesson that the truth is trying to teach us if we do not fully embrace it, if we choose not to walk in it. My own story involves the darkest time of my life, where in the throes of alcoholism, I was actually in the point where I had died. I was resuscitated and given a second chance at life, and for this I am very grateful. I remember being on the other side. I remember meeting God. I remember being told that I had signed up for a mission and that I needed to go back and complete it. When I came to, I sank into a deep depression because I knew that if I was going to turn this ship around, I was going to have to look at the truth for what it is. I was going to have to see and admit how I'd hurt other people, the people that I'd loved the most with my drinking. And I was going to have to make some major changes. I did not want to do any of this, but I knew that I would end up exactly where I was before if I did not. I thank God for the 12-step program that invited me in, only requiring me to have a desire to stop drinking. It was there that I learned that, as the big book says, faith without works is dead. This meant that if I was going to see the light within me return, I had to take action, and seeing the truth for what it is was the first step along the journey of 1,000 miles. After I had seen the truth for what it was, I was then able to go about making amends, not just a simple, hey, I'm sorry about that, but a real apology, where I admitted that I understood exactly how I had hurt others and had actually made the necessary changes so that I didn't do it again. As I grew up in my program and trust that I am not, nor never will be done growing up, the light that shone through my eyes began to slowly return. I began to trust other people again. I began to have confidence that I could handle anything that life threw at me. I learned to love myself for the way that God had created me, a beloved hot mess of a woman who struggles regularly but never stops trying. Most importantly, though, I began to cultivate a relationship with God of my own understanding, expanding that understanding day by day, week by week, year by year. I intend never to stop seeking to understand God, as this understanding has turned me into a better person than I was yesterday. My faith and trust in the divine has grown into a solid foundation for me to build a life better than I could have ever dreamt upon. And when I feel stagnant or stuck, or even when I feel like I've taken a few steps back, I know that like the archer must draw back his bow for the arrow to hit its target, so too is God aiming for something greater for me, and he always hits his mark. All of this took time and patience, but every minute was well worth it. This brings us to the why of all of this. Today, one of my favorite things about being in recovery is having an intimate relationship with God. Having an intimate relationship with God is when I see someone who is where I once was, sitting at their rock bottom, looking up at the daunting task of climbing out. As the light within them starts to come back and their new life truly begins. In these experiences, I am wealthier beyond my bank account. 2 Corinthians 4:6 says, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine in the darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts." Being a member of a community of people who have seen and overcome true darkness, who have reached the brink of death, and through divine intervention have come back to life, is one of the blessings of my lifetime. The community that focuses on growing each and every individual internal flame can collectively change the world for the better, as well as the individual. After all, we cannot have a community without unity. This is why we learn to and act upon the growing of our internal flame. For we cannot truly love our neighbor as Jesus instructed us until we learn to love ourselves fully. It is within our community that we are able to be emotionally resilient and are sheltered and protected by the group, like the walrus totem advises us. See, I told you I'd bring back the walrus. And it is the light within us that attracts our tribe to us. In the old Aztec traditions, on the winter solstice, villages would douse the flames that lit their homes, except for the main fire within the town temple of worship. Using that temple fire, priests would light their torches and then relight each and every home within the village, symbolizing that it only takes one flame to ignite the light of the entire community, and that the divine flame of truth can and should be shared with all. The light within you can and will inspire others to grow their own, for one flame can indeed light the world. Let us pray. Heavenly Creator, please help us grow the light that resides within us all. May our fear of truth be subdued so that we might be the people who exalts in your grace and verity. May our light shine through acting as a good example of your will on earth to anyone who is put before us today. And may this light bring about change that results in peace and justice for all of your children. May we live a life that is a reflection of your compassion and mercy. In your name I pray, and so it is. Now go forth, shine your light, and may God bless each and every step along the way of your journey. If no one's told you today, know that I love you. Take care.